This conference will now be recorded.
Hi all, good morning and good evening. Have a good day. Uh, in today's session, we are going to discuss about what are the different use cases in data science. Few of you has requested me, can you please let me know the difference between data engineer, data analyst, and a data scientist? And also requested me to about what are the skill set do we need to have, what are the roles and responsibility do we have. First, what we are going to do, first we'll try to understand the what is the difference between data engineer, data analyst, and a data scientist. So what is a data scientist, what are the roles and responsibility for all of you, so that when we are going to, first we are going to learn data engineer part in our course, next we are going to learn about data analyst part, next we are going to learn about the data scientist part. While learning these things, it will be really helpful for you to understand these things. And in order to learn the data engineers part, or in order to learn the data analyst part, or in order to learn the data scientist part, what are the different skill set do you require to have? We'll understand that part. And most important, what are the different industries where we are using the data science? We'll see with this snapshot kind of thing. And we'll see the two use cases in today's session. One is how Netflix is using the data science, and we'll see the another one, telecom industry, which is my favorite industry, where I started my journey into data science as a fresher into data science in the telecom industry. It's called, company name is called as a Vodafone. So what are the different use cases which are heavily using in the telecom industry? We will see. Of course, we are not restricted with the only telecom industry. In coming session, we also look into how retail industry works, how banking industry works, what are the different use cases which we are using in the uh, these industries. Why I specifically mentioned the industries are domain, because as we seen yesterday in data, as we seen the definition of data science. Data science is all about solving the business problems. So in order to solve the business problems, definitely we need to have a knowledge on a domain or a business. So further in that aspect, first of all, we are going to cover one of the industry or one of the industry which we are going to cover is telecom industry. So okay, this is the agenda for today's session. Okay, let me go and explain you about the first of all, how do you define data engineer, data analyst, and data scientist? Data analyst, so data engineer and data scientist. Here, as the name suggests, data analyst who analyze the numerical data and help to company to make a better decision. What generally data analyst does? He analyze the data with the help of analysis. He may generate the insights. With the help of insights, he is going to make a decision to run company better or helps make companies perform better. So majority of the times, data analyst works on the structured data. That's what the numerical data means. It is a kind of the structured data, or it is a tabular format of the data. Data analyst never works on the complex data, such as like unstructured data and semi-structured data. He never works on the text related problems. He never works on the image related problems. He never works on the uh, computer vision kind of thing. Computer vision is nothing but to process the image data kind of thing. What data engineer? So for data analyst, what is the first role we understood? Data analyst is the analyzing the data, which is the table for, but from where he get the data? Data analyst role is not about gathering the data or collecting the data. The major role for collecting the data, gathering the data, which is done by the data engineers, so who mainly involve into preparing the data. I mean to say, preparing the data means collecting the data from various sources. Sometimes what happens, we might have a data in Hadoop server, Hadoop platform. Sometimes we may data have in MySQL. Sometimes there could be likely chances or possibility some set of data which explicitly or extensively when we are doing the migration of the project. Sometimes your data could be available in cloud. Sometimes your data could be available in big data. Sometimes your data could be available in you know traditional databases. I mean to say traditional database is nothing but MySQL, SQL, these kind of things. So so majorly data, I'm preparing the data. What do you mean by preparing the data? Develop the data. I mean to say develop the data and construct the data and test means collecting the data from various sources and make the data into a single set or single file. That single file is called as a master data. That is the meaning. Collecting means once you develop means develop and construct means collecting the data from various sources, combine them all the files into a single file or a single data set, and test the data set whether it is working correctly or not. Maintain the complete architecture. I mean to say maintain the complete architecture means which include once your analysis everything is done, if you want to deploy the model also, we can you data engineers are going to help us. Data engineers, basically simple to say, data engineers role is collecting the data, collecting the data, developing the single data set, and hand over to data analyst or data scientist. And once data analyst and data scientist have done their work, again they'll give a product or strategy to deploy the model into production environment. So deployment is also part of the data engineer role. So what data scientist does, he analyze and interpret the complex data. So generally data scientist who handles huge volume of a data, who wrangle means cleaning, performing, who organize the big data. I mean to say big data means the data which contains a huge volume. We cannot able to measure such kind of volume of data. We cannot able to count also. For an example, let's say we are performing the, let's say, let me give a simple example. Now IPL is going on in India. IPL cricket match is going on in India. Now, BCCI or IPL counseling body team, they would like to analyze the comments. Like viewers are giving the comments in Crick Info or somewhere some blah blah websites. Crick Info website or management team want to understand the comments, or they want to understand the sentiments of the users. I mean, the sentiments is nothing but emotions of the users. So imagine in a match, if they are happening, they can be get n number of comments. It could be thousands, or it could be in lakhs, or it could be in crores. Yeah, millions or billions. It cannot be possible simple, we cannot analyze. So if we collect all the comments in a single day match, be it a 50-50 over match or be it a 20-20 over match, you may get the n number of comments. To handle such kind of things, such kind of complex data, or to analyze the emotions of the such kind of data, uh, data scientists are going to help us to analyze such complex data there. And generally the data scientists handle big data. I mean to say large volume of a data. So now we have a very clear picture on data analyst, data engineer, and data scientist. Data engineer gives a data to data analyst as well as data scientist. Data analyst will help us to make a decision based on analysis. Of course, data scientist also analyze and interpret the complex data, whereas data analyst works on simple data like it is a tabular form of data, whereas data scientist works on the complex data, majorly which will be semi-structured and unstructured data. Semi-structured data means the data which is in the form of HTML, XML, and JSON format. Unstructured data means the data which is in the form of audio, video, text, PDF, Word document, image, these kind of things. So whereas a data analyst use simple tabular format of data, tabular format is nothing but simple table data. Of course, both data analyst and data scientist does the same task in simple. Both data analyst and data scientist both analyze the data and help company to make a better decision. But in general, only the difference for data analyst and data scientist, data analyst works on the simple data sets, whereas data scientist works on the complex data sets. So some people say that they're working in a company. People will say, "Hey, I'm as a data scientist," but they're doing a just reporting kind of work. Okay. For an example, that is what the difference is between the data engineer, data analyst, and data scientist. Okay. Now let me go with the what are the roles and responsibilities. First of all, as we are living the digital world, data is our main focus. Data is our life. Data is our bread and butter. So, so as a data engineer, what he does, he collect the data and he develop a single data set and test it with the different use cases and maintain the architecture. And here maintain the architecture is nothing but deploying of the products or deployment of the strategies. Once you build any algorithm, be it a machine learning algorithm, be it a deep learning algorithm, he deploy into the production environment. Deployment is a part of the data engineer. What data analyst does, whenever data engineers share a data with the data analyst, generally data engineer collects the raw data. That means as data engineers may collected the wanted or unwanted information. So what data analyst does here, whatever the data, whomsoever data does collect, data engineer collected, he pre-processing and gathering the data. I mean to say pre-processing and gathering the data means what it does, he make the data into more useful formats. He make the data analyst make the data into more useful format, or transform the data into more understanding format. So what responsibilities of data scientist, whatever the data analyst clean the data or pre-clean the data or make the data into more understandable format, data scientists develop the operation model build a operation model is nothing but here build the strategies with the help of machine learning and deep learning algorithms, deep learning algorithms. So in order to data engineer, what happens, understanding the programming and its complexity. So in terms of collecting the data, as we are said, collecting the data, so some, as how do you collect the data? In some cases data could be a flat files, you can easily collect the data. Sometimes data could be JSON files. Sometimes the data could be some web scraping files. Sometimes data is in the image format, sometimes data is a PDF, anything it would be. So it is not that much easy to collect the data. Imagine if your data is at imagine if your data is with the Twitter. Let's say from the Twitter, what you need to do, you need to collect the data. So hey Twitter, give me data, will they give? Definitely no, right? How Twitter will give you data? Definitely no. What you have to do, you need to make a API connection. I mean, you need to make an interface with the Twitter and your programming tool. Let's say your programming tool is Python. So directly Python cannot interact with the Twitter API. So there could be a one API, there should be a one API which can interact with the Python and Twitter, so that it can make a connection. So sometimes the connection could be very easy, sometimes the connection could be very tough. So with the complexity may vary from it. So for an example, let's say you want to make a connection with the Spark with the Python. Imagine your data is in Spark. How do you make a connection with the Spark with the Python? That means you need to understand the programming and its complexity. So whatever the data does, data engineer shares, he data and next let's go with the one by one. And generally data engineers deploy the machine learning and statistical models. Of course they also deploying statistical means different models like linear regression, logistic regression, supervised, unsupervised models. So as well as deep learning models are, they deploy the deep learning models. uh, and building pipelines for various ETL operations. Pipeline is one of the concept which help us very quickly processing the data. Pipelines is one of the new concept which introduced in the last few years to process the data. So you can easily process the data with the help of ETL operations. I mean to say, ETL operations is nothing but we are here to understand about the extraction. ETL means extraction, loading, and transform the data. ETL means extraction, transformation, and loading. Extracting the data, transforming the data, and loading the data into required database. And our end goal for the data engineer, ensure data is more flexible and more accurate. More accurate. In simple layman, as a layman, if I said that, in simple layman, if I say that the major role of the data engineer is collect the data, develop the data, maintain the data, deployment, and most important task for the data engineer is ensure that data is more accurate and more flexible. That's what the major role of the data engineer. Okay, perfect. Any questions on this, guys? Whereas data analyst, what it does, he pre-process and gather the data, pre-processing and data gathering. I mean to say, whatever the data he has received from the data engineer sends the raw data to data analyst. Raw data may not sense to us, does not make any sense. We need to transform the raw data into more user understanding format of data, or more user formatted data, so are more useful format of data. Once we made the data into more useful format, data analyst represent the data via reporting and visualization. I mean to say, whatever the data he cleans or he converted the data into more useful format, on top of useful format, he is going to he is going to is going to generate the visualization. Visualizations can be done with the help of Power BI, or with the help of Tableau, or with the help of uh, you know mm, Tableau quick view, these kind of things, or Excel. So statistical analysis and data interpretation, whatever the reports it does he generated, he need to interpret the data, and on top of it he need to perform some statistical analysis, such as called as hypothesis testing, A/B testing, like these kind of things. We ensures data acquisitions and maintain the data, whatever the data, maintain the quality of the data should be high, optimization of the statistics and statistical efficiency and quality of data should be more. See, first data engineer roles comes, and then a data analyst comes into the picture. First data engineer, and then data analyst. Clear, Ranjit? Is it clear the point? First role is the data engineer role, second is the data analyst. Simple layman,
Okay.
data engineer. Yeah, go ahead. First, data engineer, what it does, he collects the data from various sources and maintain that, as well as deploy the machine learning models and deep learning models. The main goal of data engineer is collect the data from various sources and ensure that data should be more accurate and more flexible, and test the data is whether it is valid or not with the different test cases, and maintain the same architecture till the point our process runs, our process ends. And another one more goal is deployment of the models. I mean to say, deployment of the machine learning models and deep learning models could be the major part for data engineers. What data analyst does, whatever the data, raw data which collected by the, or which created by the data engineer, who data analyst receives the raw data from data engineer. The main task of data analyst is convert or transform the raw data into more useful format, or more user understanding format. Once your data is more user understanding or more useful format, you need to produce the reports or visualizations.
Okay,
Visualization
sir.
or reports. Yep. Go ahead.
Sir, like for data analyst, what will be the input? Like it may be raw data, or else whatever the data engineer final output data accuracy and flexibility. That type of data will
No,
be the input, or else normally raw data.
see, raw data. It is the raw data. Generally, a data engineer sends the raw data to the data analyst.
Yeah, that's
But
what like before deploying, or else after
deploy,
doing all these.
see, deployment is one of the key role for the data engineer. I mean, you cannot compare one with the other. Deployment is end. Deployment, you need to I mean, data engineer deploy the machine learning statistical model. Who create the machine learning statistical models? These created by the data analyst and data scientist. Don't get confused with the. So these are the major activities I'm comparing. One major activities we are comparing. What data engineer does it at. Generally, data engineer sends the raw data to data analyst. Okay, clear, Charan?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, data engineer sends the raw data to data analyst. So majorly data analyst
So,
is go
hi,
ahead.
Jerome here. Question. So, when you are saying data engineer sends raw data to data analyst, do you
Uh-huh.
mean the raw data means that is already done through the ETL process, or do you mean the data that is coming from the file structures?
No, already done the ETL process.
Okay. Because I
Already
think
done.
that creates confusions for people like us. Is what does the raw data mean? Because data can't come
Mhm,
from
mhm. Let me
different.
let me let me give on a simple example so that what, let's say, let me give a simple example to you guys. Yesterday we were discuss about the one of the example for Airtel example, right? Airtel is facing a challenges of customer attrition. So what do you mean by customer attrition? Customer attrition means the customer who are leaving the network. So the major our goal is to identify what could be the reasons what could be the reasons why customers are leaving the network, what are the factors are influencing them to leave the network, and we also need to predict who is going to leave the network and how do you retain them back. That is our goal. So in order to solve this problem, what we are going to do, we need to first have to have a collecting the data. Imagine your data is in hard, let's say imagine your data is in MySQL. Imagine your data is in MySQL. So for an example, let me go with the let me show you one example. Let me write down in the one example here so that you can better understanding about this. Let me open it. Hmm. Imagine for an example. Okay, let me take the new one. For an example, let's say this is the, let's say what happens, how the data will get the, let's say how the data will get to the, first how the data will get to that, based on the, for an example, customers, we have a customer using the products and services. What happen, data will be generated into different files. One thing could be, let's say billing is the one information, let's say payment is another information. Imagine payment is another information, let's say usage is another information. What do you mean by usage? Usage is nothing but it is a data usage, voice, SMS, roaming, and so let's say network is another information. Let's say imagine network is another information. So billing is one information, payment is another information, usage is another information, network is another information. Imagine, as we discussed yesterday, flat files can able to store up to 1 million records. It cannot store more than 1 million. So so as a customer, telecom customer, our data could be more than 1 million. In that moment we cannot use the, or we cannot able to use the flat files. We, our data could be residing at MySQL. And imagine, for example, for timing it is a MySQL. For timing it is a MySQL. Of course it could be in the cloud also, or it could be, Teradata, or it could be a big data, anything it could be. But just imagine your data is a MySQL. So MySQL is also, it is a one of the database where we can store the data. It perform at row level action. It perform at row level action. Now directly what happens? So these are the databases under the MySQL. These are the different metadata or folders where data is available. One building data, payment data. So what data engineer does with the help of programming, let's say Python programming. So directly we cannot do, or we cannot perform everything in the MySQL. So what we're going to do, we made a connection establishment with the Python. So with the help of, let's say, imagine the Python. Python is one of the tool which we can use for data science. Then what is going to happen here? He combined all the data. Here we loading, first of all, loading the data, ETL extraction, extracting, loading and transforming. So he combined all the data sets. He loaded all the data sets into Python. All the data sets means billing, payment, usage, network. Loaded and extracting. Then he transformed the data into final file, single file, or single data set. So this process is called, this process is done by the data engineer. This is the simple to say, it is a ETL process. Simple to say, it is a ETL process. So now this data set, whatever the single file we call, so billing and payment, uses and network, these are the four data sources we have used. There could be a likely chances we may not require all the information. As a data scientist, as a data analyst, we may not require to use all the information. We may require to use, or we may use some sort of the data only. But data engineer could not have an idea what kind of exact data we required. So we informed to data engineer initially, hey data engineer, we require these four files information, such as billing, payment, usage and network information. These data sets, as data engineer knew about that, these data sets are residing in MySQL. Standalone MySQL will not help us to create a single file. So in order to get that, we are going to use the Python. So why it is not possible? The reason is there could be a possibility this data may not be a proper data or may not be in the same order. There could be a likely chances data might have a white spaces, leading and trailing blanks. So MySQL cannot able to help us to deal this kind of thing. With the help of Python, we make the data into some order, some raw order, some understand order, or make all the files into same order. Why we need to make all the files into same order? Because we need to combine all the files and make into a single file. This single file can be referred as the raw data. This raw data consists of both wanted as well unwanted information. This raw data sends to the data analyst. Is it clear? Any questions? Is it clear? Yes, Kavita.
So actually, with the ETL process, is that data engineer is implementing that deep learning and machine learning
No,
concepts over there?
no, we are not. No, with the ETL process, we are not developing the machine learning and deep learning yet. We are going to discuss now the machine learning and deep learning now. Okay, you'll get that. Just give me 5-10 minutes. You'll understand that process. Now,
Okay.
what data analyst does? So up to now, any questions? Whatever that discuss, any questions, any part. Machine learning and deep learning, we are going to cover it now.
Koti, when you
Yeah.
said the connection between the Python or Twitter, right? So for
Uh,
getting the
uh,
required data, so
uh,
we have to develop some APIs. So these APIs has been written in the Python, or it's a ready-made APIs which we can call it and load it.
Most of the cases, it is a ready-made. We just use. We can invoke and you can call it, or you may create your own APIs in Python itself. Here it is a
So
bridge. Hmm.
Okay. So it's basically like for Twitter it will be different, for Facebook it will be different, for ClickBuzz it will be different, like that, right?
Definitely, yes.
So all these APIs nothing but all these functions, I mean combination of the functions, modules, right?
Mm, yes.
Okay. Okay.
So as an example here, MySQL, you may set the Cricinfo, you may set the Twitter, you may set the Instagram, you may set that it is a Facebook, anything. Depends on the source of the data it is. Okay. So is it clear, everyone? Not APIs, API. What do you mean by API is nothing but application programming interface. Application programming interface. Okay, perfect. Now, what what data engineers, raw data, generally raw data. Now, data engineers send the raw data to us. Simple to say. Raw data, general users like us who raw data may not give us the full-fledged information or required output to us. Need to transform the raw data into more useful format. Transform the data into more useful formats. Our user understanding format. User understanding format. User understand format. So once if the data has converted raw data into more user understand format, we need to produce this user understand format data in visualized format. This visualized format can be done with the help of Power BI, or there are the tools called Tableau, or maybe some inbuilt Python modules or functions, inbuilt Python modules. Or some depends. Looker is one more thing. Looker, which was using the Google, Power BI, which is a Microsoft product, or ClickView. These are different uh, different visualization tool. So the user understand if it is a tabular format of data, it is really difficult to understand. What if the data is in the visualized format? Visualized format means the data is in Looker or Power BI, Tableau, or as well as on understand the data analyst also perform the some basic statistical tests. Some basic statistical test. This can help us just to understand whether the quality of data is correct or wrong. To understand why statistical tests can be performed, to understand whether the quality of data is correct or wrong, or whether the quality of data makes sense or not. In order to understand that, they are going to use the some statistical test. This is a major role for the data analyst. So based on the statistical test and based on the visualized format, he provides the suggestions or recommendations to customer. Recommendations to customer. Am I right? Is it clear? Any questions on this? What data analyst does, raw data, convert raw data, transform the raw data into user understand format of data to know whether it is correct, quality of data is good or not. In order to understand that, they perform some statistical test methods. What are the different statistical methods? We will discuss in detail later part. And along with that, to make the decision or to make the useful format to present to the customers or clients, they are going to use the visualization formats or visualization techniques. Some of the tools or techniques can be used for us: Looker, Power BI, Tableau, in inbuilt Python modules, or ClickView. Basically, the end goal for data analyst is he provide the suggestions or recommendations with the help of analysis, whatever he or she has done. That is the major role of the data analyst. So data analyst does not have an ability or capability to predict the future. They always works on the historical data. Historical data means on the existing data. What data scientist does here, this is the major role of the data engineer. What data scientist does, he majorly responsible for the developing the operational models. Operational model means building the machine learning and the deep learning models, uh, which involves, I mean, so with the help of machine learning and deep learning model, he or she can able to make a plan of strategical plans. For an example, as we take the churn attrition, so they are majorly involved into the planning of how do you retain them back, what are the strategies, and sometimes integrate the data and perform ad hoc analysis. Some request, so give a simple example, sometimes some ad hoc analysis also. And always data scientist does mainly goal is fill the gap between the stakeholders and customer. Stakeholders means Airtel is a stakeholder, customers end user the customer. They always try to fill the gap, and make sure ensure that providing the good quality services to the customer. These are the major role of the data engineer, data analyst, and data scientist, guys. Because we are going to learn this course, before we are going to learn the course, we need to be very clear what we are trying to learn, what is our end goal. If I complete this course, what kind of roles I'm going to get it, what is my role and responsibilities should be, very clearly. So that is the reason I extensively am specifying these points. Any questions, guys? Any doubt about this so far? Does it require more coding? Coding is required, not too much heavily. We can use the based on some set of conditions or comments, we can use this one. Okay, any questions, guys? Kavita, Hari sir, Hari Prasad, Abhishek, Veeru, Mallikarjuna, Anil, Charan, Ramu,
No
Puneet,
question,
Shankar.
but just a thought, Koti.
Mhm.
So I don't see all these three kind of different roles we see in organizations, right? Like kind of, if I am an analyst, I need to do all this stuff.
That's what I mean. Generally, ideally it should be, different role. But what happens, due to cost cutting and due to save a lot of amount, companies are nowadays expecting all three roles into a single job.
Hmm. Yeah.
So nowadays data scientists also collect the data, he also pre-processing the data, he also does the visualization. That is the reason our course has integrated all these three activities into a single point. Okay,
Okay.
thanks for adding the point. Now skill sets, what are the skill set we have? Data warehousing, and you need to understand the data warehousing and how data stores and ETL process, how to extract transformations. And sometimes data warehousing, small amount of data set may require. So Hadoop based analytics, I mean to say Hadoop based analytics is nothing but we may require to understand about the big data, as well as we may also require to understand about the cloud base, how do you extract the data from the cloud. So let's say your data is laying down either in the Hadoop or in the traditional database or in the big data or in the let's say cloud. Directly you cannot extract the data. In order to extract the data, we are going to use the SQL. Suppose if you are using the cloud base, we are going to use the BigQuery. Let's say if you are in the Spark, we are going to use the Spark SQL. Suppose let's say if you are using the big data like Hadoop and all, we are going to use the Hive. For an example, if you are using the cloud-based Amazon, all these things, they are going to use the database called Redshift. I mean SQL, different names of the SQL. For an example, if you are using the traditional database, you may use the MySQL, Oracle, Teradata. These are the things. So as a data scientist, your primary skill, your primary knowledge should have to have the SQL. Without SQL knowledge, you cannot able to attend data science interviews also. In every data science interview, at least you may get 2 to 3 interview questions which are related to the SQL. So in our course, extensively, we are also covering the MySQL to make you better understand about. Of course, we are also covering the Hive. Of course, we are also covering the Redshift. Of course, we are also covering the Spark SQL. But primarily to understand about the Hive, Spark, SQL, or Redshift. It is primary goal for you to understand about the SQL. In our course, to make you better, as we are assuming that none of them doesn't, of course there are a few guys who already know about the SQL, all this thing, but our assumption, our goal is you may not know about the may not knew about the SQL. So we are also going to cover the SQL. And data architect and pipelining is one of the concept which can help us in the distributed environment. Explicitly, pipelining is a concept which are heavily used in the Spark and the cloud platforms. So you need to have some knowledge on the machine learning concept. Why you need to have a knowledge on the machine learning concept? Reason being, your goal as a data engineer, primary goal also need to be deploy the models. So while deploying the model, at least you need to know the names of the models, what model it is, whether it is a classification model, whether it is a regression model kind of thing. You need to have some understand about this. And it will be really great to have a knowledge about the scripting, programming language, reporting, and data visualization. It could have some better understanding. So okay, so as a data analyst, you need to have a you need to have an understanding about data warehousing, I mean to say data or MySQL, this concept, SQL concept, and programming knowledge. So you need to clean the data, or you need to make the data into more useful formats or understand format. You need to have a knowledge on the programming and scripting and statistical skills. So you need to check the quality of the data. In order to understand that, you need to have a statistical test, and whatever the you data converted data into more useful format need to produce in the visualized format. For that purpose, we are going to use the reporting tools such as Power BI, Tableau. Of course, in our course, we are going to extensively we are covering the Power BI, and must have a knowledge SQL to extract the data, to produce the data. For that purpose, we need to have a SQL. Sometimes, every time we cannot use the Power BI, this kind of thing. You need to have some good understanding about the spreadsheet. Spreadsheet is nothing but Excel sheets. Because sometimes data, creating a data, small data reports, sometimes we may not use the Power BI, this kind of thing. We may use the Excel also. That will be really helpful to you have a knowledge on the Excel. Of course, we are going to cover the Excel also as a workshop kind of thing. We are also going to cover the Excel in our course. So I hope you are clear about the what data engineer does, what data analyst does. Now we are also going to, as our main primary task is the statistical analysis. That means machine learning and deep learning algorithms can work the background of the statistical and analytical skills, understanding the data, problem solving, this kind of thing. So of course, in our course, we are extensively going to cover the statistics, machine learning, and deep learning algorithm. In order to perform the machine learning and deep learning, you need to have a programming knowledge. So programming knowledge is nothing but these are the three tools heavily we are using in the industry, which are popular in the industry, such as SAS, R, and Python. But 95 to 98% of the market which are occupied by the Python. Once upon a time, people have used the SAS. SAS is a primary tool for data science, guys, but it is not a open source. It is a cost. I mean, you need to buy this product. The cost of this product, which could be 10 lakh per one desktop. I'm subject to correct the point. I think 10 lakh rupee per one desktop cost is a 10 lakhs, 10 lakh Indian rupees. So as we said, the data scientist majorly works on the big data kind of thing. So you need to have an understanding about the Hadoop based analytics. I mean, how do you perform the machine learning and deep learning on cloud? How do you perform the machine learning and deep learning on the big data? How do you perform the machine learning and deep learning on the traditional databases? You need to have a strong some understanding about these things, because majorly in the industries nowadays, extensively in 2019 onwards, 19 2020 onwards, extensively people are using for machine learning, deep learning with the help of big data. Suppose, let's say, if you are going to Citibank, or if you go to JP Morgan, or if you go to Yes Bank, or if you go to some banks like Wintrust, there the Commonwealth Bank, Sydney Bank, Bank of America, like banks are using the data of Hadoop data. So Hadoop is a huge volume of data or big data. So normal Python does not support us. you need to use the PySpark kind of thing to process the data, or to build a machine learning and deep learning algorithms, or you may have to use the cloud-based machine learning and deep learning algorithm with the help of SageMaker, AWS SageMaker, Azure ML, or Google Cloud, Google TensorFlow, Keras kind of things we have to use. Ultimately, as we are dealing with the huge volume of data, optimizing data is really important, because one program, one data set, creating one data set may take hours of time. So optimizing, writing a code, optimizing data is more effective and more utilized manner is most important to us. As we discuss, as the definition of data scientist, all about the decision making. So decision making is most important to us. So at the end goal as a data scientist for all this thing is decision making is important to us. These are the skill set may required for us. Guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. I can explain you, because you, before we are learning the actual content, you need to be very clear what are we going to learn, what are the skill set we required. If you are not clear, you are learning the course, it may not be helpful to us. So I would request all of you, are you clear the roles and the responsibilities and what skill set are required for us to learn as a data engineer, data analyst, data scientist? In our course, fortunately in our course, we are going to cover all these three things. All these three things means we are going to cover the data engineer, we are going to cover the data analyst, we are also going to cover the data scientist roles. This is a course which we design in a such a way, it for all problems one solution. That is our course. You may after learn this course, you may look for opportunities either in data engineer side, data analyst side, data scientist side. Anything is fine. But generally, guys, generally before COVID, we may also, one honest point we also need to speak, before COVID and after COVID. Before COVID, people have a different responsibility for all these three things. But after COVID, due to reduce the cost, uh, and to make more utilize the resource and cost optimization, basically, or resource optimization, I would say that. So cost reduction, I would say. So people, companies, extensively companies are looking for all the, I mean, the person should have a knowledge on data engineer side, data analyst side, and data scientist side. That, no, if you would have a knowledge on all these three things, then you are the rock star in the market. Okay, any questions, guys, now so far on these three things?
Koti,
Yeah, go ahead, Kavita.
for data scientists, as a prerequisite, the reference data will be the data that is available in visualization tool that is provided from data analyst always.
Not to visualize tool, what happens, you will give the data after, I mean to say, useful format data will give, user understand format of data will give us.
Okay.
Why
So
he
that,
use the, let me add one point why he made the data visualized, because to understand whether the quality of data is correct or not, for understanding point, he visualized the data in with the help of reporting tools.
okay.
Data scientist will get the data in user understand format of data. Yes, simple
Okay.
to say.
So it's always a prerequisite, right? Like it should
Correct.
be in that format. Okay.
Ideally it is a prerequisite, but what happens to reduce now in the after the pandemic, companies also looking, they'll say that, boss, your data is residing at some database, go and collect the data and give me a decision at the end.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
what is happening in after COVID. Because let's say if I explain, hey, if I explain, if I said that, hey, you don't require to learn about the ETL process, I mean to ETL process means collecting the data visualization, then I make you fool. But I don't want to make you a fool, guys, because I want to tell you the truth and honest thing that is most important to all of us. Okay. Okay, next question, please. Guys, any question? Malikarjuna, Masudan, Shivshankar, Pramod, all this thing. Okay. Now, most important, where data science is using. Where data science is using. There are different industries where we are using the data science, guys. So primarily, first and industry which we know heavily, which we like generally, is the travel industry. We would like to travel to fun, I mean, parties. We'll go for parties in Florida beaches, maybe Niagara Falls, maybe in India, Goa, somewhere different way. So basically, traveling from one destination to other destination, it may not be easy always. You need to look at, for an example, you want to travel to India to, let's say, Bangkok. Always you need to look into the what is the flight cost. I mean, what is the price of the price, flight cost, all this thing you need to look. So how, as a company, as a I mean, as an airline company, how do I optimize the route so that where I can get more profits? And the most important thing, how do I make the price is more dynamic and more effective to the users, I mean to customer, so that they can attract to our prices and they can register without, or they can utilize our services. And most of the problem with the flights is a delay, maybe due to weather issues or anything it could be. We need to predict the delay, how much delay it could be. And if we can able to tell intimate this, because of these reasons, flight may go get delay of 20 minutes, 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So customer also would be happy, hey, they are intimating, because there's some reasons, environmental reasons, where we cannot able to control it. Maybe be it a tufan, be it a rainy, or be it a cloudy weather, kind of anything it could be. So travel is the one industry which extensively helping us to understand about pricing, dynamic pricing, how prices changes, and route optimization. How do we make the route more effective so that we can utilize the maximum, we can grab, or we can utilize the maximum number of customers. And predicting the flight delays, I mean to say, predicting the flight delay is nothing but how much delay flight or bus or car is going to get delayed. So we need to understand that. And next industry is the marketing industry, where heavily we are using the industry churn. Be it a retail company, be it a telecom company, be it a bank, everywhere most of them are facing the challenges of churn. What do you mean by churn? Churn is nothing but attrition. Churn is nothing but attrition. And that means they may leave the network, they may leave the organization, they may leave the company or anything. How do I retain them? And how do we understand, how do I know that who is going to churn, or what are the factors are influence them to leave the churn? And when they are going to leave, or when they are going to churn, and how do we retain them? What are the strategies we need to follow to retain them? So upsell is another point where we are going to use. Upsell means upgrading the product. For an example, let me take an example, simple telecom industry. Let's say you are using a postpaid service. Every month you are using a base plan of 200. As a company, Airtel company reaches to, hey, Mr. Sai, every month you are utilizing the almost your base plan is 200, but at the end of the month, every month you are paying the almost 800 rupees. So to retain you, and to make you to make you provide an offer, instead of instead of using the 200 rupees base plan, change to 400 rupees base plan, so that you no need to pay 800 rupees extra. You can utilize that benefits at free of cost. So that means upgrading the product. Maybe may not require every month Sai is using the 800 rupees amount. He may be using less than that also. So upsell, that is upsell. Cross selling is the one of the most important point. Cross selling means selling the different product. Let's say generally what happens. Generally what happens. This can be used heavily in banking industries, guys. I mean, of course, in all other industries also we are using, but extensively using in banking industry. Let me tell you one example. Let's say if you want to buy a home, generally your primary goal is to buy home, but what they sell while buying a home, they also said that you have to take insurance for your property. Ideally, insurance should not be part of your buying home. They said that insurance be taken should be considered, or should have to take because insurance will give us the assurance for your property in future, be it a god of fact or anything it could be, right? Now that is a cross sell kind of thing. Predicting lifetime value of a customer. What do you mean by predicting lifetime, how much the value? So because it is a more competitive world, and we need to provide offers to engage more customers or to return more customer, but we need to know what is the lifetime of a customer, how long is going to, how much benefits are going to get from him. So understanding the lifetime value of the customer is really important to us. Any questions about this, guys? I mean, these are the industries. Of course, we are going to cover each industry in depth of it. It is really required for us. So next industry is healthcare, guys. Next industry is the third industry, which is heavily we are using the healthcare, and the healthcare which tells about the disease prediction. Let's say COVID prediction. Some of the IITs have developed an algorithm, develop a toolkit with the AI-based toolkit to detect the COVID in just 2 seconds or just 2 minutes, somewhere like that. And medication effect, for an example, now COVID have been vaccines trials going on across the world. Now whether these COVID vaccines are effective or no, to understand that, they are using the medication effectiveness. They are using the medication effectiveness. Next point, that is the medication effectiveness. They are using the medication effectiveness. So next point is medication effect. These are some of the projects in the healthcare industry. So social media, sentimental analysis. Now how people are reacting towards the COVID, how people are reacting towards India-China border tensions, how people are reacting towards about the oil prices increases in India. So how people need to capture people emotions. Sentiment is nothing but emotion. Whether people are reacting to positive particular issue, whether people are reacting towards a negative to a particular issue, or whether the people are neutral to any particular issue. To understand that, we are using the sentimental analysis. And digital marketing extensively using the Google and Adobe. Basically, Google Analytics is, let's say, if I load this video in YouTube, how many people are visited, from which region people are visited, what age group does they have, how frequently they are visiting our website. To understand this kind of things, we are using the digital marketing, guys. We are using the digital marketing. Okay, perfect. Next, one more industry is the sales industry. One more industry where we are using the sales industry. Sales, we need to extensively sales, how much sales we need to predict in the demand forecasting, how much discounts we need to provide on offers, what kind of sales activity, what kind of activities do we need to perform to improve the sales. Are we going to, do we need to do promotion activities like WhatsApp promotion activities, or email promotion activities, or maybe social media promote activity? What kind of activities do we need to do this kind of things? And automation, some of the extensive automations which are happening in the Tesla self-driving car, pilot aircrafts, drones, and all these things, they are using the AI based automations, guys. And credit and insurance, banking industry, how BFS are using this. Fraud is one of the area where which heavily using in the banking transaction. Defaulters, crime predictions, how much it is true, whether the crime predictions false or true allegations. All this, these are the some of the industries where we are using the data science. I mean, you may feel that, sir, we are not understand in depth of it. Just I given a overview to make you understand about where data science using, what are the some of the industries where we are using the using with the, some small examples, guys. So we'll go in depth of with the these things. Okay, any questions so far, guys? Any questions about this so far? Okay, any questions, guys? Punit, any questions? Nagarjuna, are you clear? Sunila, Viru,
No coding.
Vijay, Sai, Romi, Kavita, Ranjit, Ramu, Pramod, Shravan, Muniraj, Mallikarjuna, Hariprasad. Yes, Shravan, Charan, Abhishek. Okay, perfect. Perfect, guys. Now, let me tell you about how to pose a business problem. How to, yes, which I will cover into another 5-10 minutes. Just wait, give me few minutes, we'll understand that question. Okay, okay, perfect. Now one of the use case we are going to use the how Netflix is using the data science. Just guys, but just Netflix, how many of you guys, I want to be, should be more interactive, how many of you use the Netflix so far? How many of you use the Netflix so far? Guys, please respond, then only you can understand. How many of
I
you use
use
the okay, only one? Entire group, only one out of 30?
al- almost everyone. I
Yeah,
think.
I'm also using that.
Yes, okay. So okay, Netflix you are using. Netflix is a simple web application. It is a kind of an application, or it is a kind of an app. Am I right? You may visit the without mobile app, you can also visit in the laptop. I agree. So what are the different ways you have used the Netflix? One, you may have used the tab, you may use the, let's say, mobile, you may also use the, let's say, Google Chrome, or you may use in your TV, you might have used in your laptop. Am I right? These are the different sources. So what Netflix, how Netflix works. So why are you using the why are you using the Netflix, guys? Why are you using the Netflix? Why are you using the Netflix?
Because we
Entertainment.
love to watch movies,
To watch the movies extensively, for watching the movies and
web
web
series.
series. So let's say, when are you going to watch heavily on Netflix? If you like the content of Netflix, I mean to say the content of the Netflix is nothing but uh, if you like the movie kind of movies, it could be a romantic, it could be a fictional, or it could be a melody, it could be a drama, or it could be a comedy, which could be applicable to web series also. Now if you like the content, then only you are going to spend more and more. If you like the series, web series, or if you like the movies, then only you are going to subscribe the data sources. How Netflix knew, or is going to know whether you are liking the content or not, or how Netflix is new, what kind of content are you liking, or how Netflix knew how frequently are you visiting the Netflix. So you need to understand this kind of content, right? So in order to understand that, always Netflix will think that they need to provide you good quality of service, so that you stay with them, you may stay with them more time. So for Netflix also, retaining a customer is most important. Though may register for a monthly wise, if they don't find anything is happy for them, or if they don't find anything they're likely, or they're not liking, if they found anything is not liking, they're not going to subscribe for next month. That means it is a loss for the Netflix, they are going to lose the revenue. So for the Netflix company, retaining a customer is more important. In order to retain a customer, they would like to have a much understand about the customer preferences and customer behavior. In order to understand the customer preference and customer behavior, first of all they would like to know what kind of movies does the customers are liking. Let's say if the people are in India, what kind of movies are they liking? Let's say people are in USA, what kind of movies they are liking? Let's say based on the age group, for an example, age group is 1 to 10, what kind of web series, what kind of things are they liking? Are they liking comedy movies? Are the kind of kids channels? Are that people are in between 25 to 40, what kind of things are they liking? You need to understand. You need to understand that. So these are some of the problems we have. In order to understand that, first of all, collecting the customer data is really important to us. So collecting the data is a kind of data sources. There are different data sources as we look into here. They may watch the movies or web series in laptop or desktop, or they're watching in tab, Are they watching in a website, www website? Are they giving the ratings here? Are they watching movies in mobile or tab, laptop or desktop kind of thing? Here, if you look into here in the image, he is the person giving the ratings. It's a 3-star rating or 4-star rating, 5-star rating kind of thing. And he may also collect the data from the website. This is the data sources. Once whatever the data sources, Netflix and Chill is the company where they partnered. So they are going to find this they are going to do the some analysis, data analysis, such as the find the next smash hit series. I think what happened. I think in the year of 2014, if I'm not wrong, in the year of 2014, Netflix have spent around $100 million for one of the best show called House of Cards. For promotional activities, for just promotional activities, they spent around $100 million. Do you know why? Because they knew that their existing customer liking similar kind of series. If it comes like the same kind of series, highly likely chances it is going to hit more. Only one show which got highest viewership across the world, almost 55 crores. 55 crores, almost, I mean to say 50, I mean 10 million is nothing but 1 crore. Almost 500 million customers have viewed this show that is called as House of Cards. It is one of the biggest successes to grow up the Netflix company. So also they perform that is what called as a next smash hit series. Personalized video ranker. So they are given the ratings kind of rank. How much rating? They suggest you 3 rating movies, 2 rating web series, 5 rating web series kind of things. Top 1 video. What are the videos you watched? And they also do have trending. What is happened trend now? Continue watching. They suggest you based on the recommendation engine. They suggest you to what kind of movies you need to watch. Similar kind of movies, kind of things. So these are some of the analysis where we are using the data science for Netflix. This is where we are using the data science for Netflix. Now, any questions, guys? Any questions before I go in depth of Netflix? So customer experience. Mm, Netflix has a backup on the content. Whatever the content they're collecting here, whatever the content the data sources, they also always stores in the Google Cloud, guys. They always stores in the Google Cloud. Um, um, Google Cloud there always stores the data in the Google Cloud. That means for us understanding understanding the cloud-based platform is really important to us. So whatever the data captured, these are the data, so the different data sources are captured by the Netflix to know what they want to understand, what exactly user wants, and what they have to do uh, to retain their customer. Uh, I mean, basically, Netflix want to understand they want to understand what exactly user want and what they have to do what they have to do retain the customer. As I just mentioned, user experience and retain the customer, they are the primary tasks for the Netflix company. They see entire thing in two ways. Technology and data science is the two things. Technology, latest technology to grab the movies kind of things. I mean, more flexible streamlines timelines kind of things. And the second thing is data and analytics. Data analytics means data science are using the things they are using heavily. As I just mentioned the example for House of Cards. Next, Netflix House of Cards started in February 1, 2014, was licensed by the Netflix on so they observed that viewers who like the House of Cards were fans of Kevin Films and who liked the movies directed by the David Fincher. David Fincher is one of the famous director. These kind of things, right? The success rate for Netflix is almost 85%, guys. Almost 85%. So Netflix spends for data science almost $1 billion. Netflix spends almost $1 billion. Okay, this is what the Netflix guys. Any questions, guys? Any doubt about this so far? So one question. Any questions? Any doubt? So this is one of the case, and of course we are going to do a project, recommendation engine project in our course for Netflix, guys. I mean to say recommendation engine nothing but how Netflix is recommending the movies to customers. How Netflix retain the customer, what are the different strategies are they going to follow? This is what they are using. Any questions, guys, now so far? Any questions so far? So extensively we looked into the one of first use case, we looked into how Netflix is using the data science. We understand the terminologies for data engineer, data analyst, and data scientist. We are very clear in today's session what are the roles and responsibilities and skill set for data scientist, data analyst, and data engineers. Now let me go. I think what is the time now? What is the time? 8:20 almost. I think half an hour could not be sufficient to discuss telecom use case. Let's discuss the telecom use case maybe next class.